and a lot of pressure around the Wukong and Lee Sin. You do have the Veigar who can really set up nice sort of zoning in the chokes within a jungle, and you have to favour sort of the early game for Lee Sin if he's able to find, you know, an angle here onto Kongyue. But I mean, he's probably one of the hardest junglers to get an advantage over in this league.
And I think as well, he does have a bit more of a difficult time because he just doesn't have the best gank setup, right? You've got the Veigar mid who is decent but doesn't bring much damage of his own. And then the Lucian Nami, I think, brings definitely less than the likes of Xayah Nautilus. So I feel like Hana's job is kind of to get his lanes through early game, especially if you can snowball Lucian Nami ahead. You see top laners meeting at level 1. There's a lethal tempo picked up by Jax. We've seen Lakai go back and forth between the grasp and lethal tempo depending on the matchup. Obviously does give you a bit more scaling, those extended trades. Ward comes out in that bot river there.
Yeah, Spellbook's the option here for Veigar, so what do you think of that? Do you think that changes sort of this matchup at all, or?
Not really. I think that as Veigar, your only real options are Spellbook, First Strike, or Comet. Comet doesn't really make a difference in this matchup since you can't harass out Ori. And First Strike, again, you get outranged, especially in early games, so it's hard to actually stack it up. It feels like Spellbook is just the last response. It will be interesting. I didn't check his whole runes, but with Spellbook, if you swap to Ghost and have Nimbus Cloak, that can kind of act as a pseudo-predator, where you can just cover a huge amount of distance like that. He does have... Okay, he has Mana Flow. Just doesn't have the Nimbus Cloak. You see that Lucian Nami beginning to get some prio. Yeah. Oftentimes has to be weak in the first couple of levels, but...
I think generally would be, but Xayah not that strong, level 1, unless she is paired with that Rakan, so all you can really do... She's kind of short range, deceivingly, and then, yeah, you just sort of use your Q and you don't have any way to defend yourself from that. It's just a little bit of poke. Was actually stronger in previous seasons where Lethal Tempo would proc from your Q. But I think, yeah, generally we see Xayah losing level 1 if she's not with Rakan.
Was also the tier start by Nesty, so is going for the full scaling here. Could perhaps be greedy, but I think against First Strike Ori should be okay. Ward comes out from Hana to allow his Lucian Nami to push. I think that's extremely important. Just going to make sure there's no kind of 3 camp into bot. And if you can have your double range lane feel safe to push, they can put on so much more pressure as that CS lead bot begins to build.
We do see Ignite actually on the Lucian. Obviously not too much CC to worry about, like cleansable CC that is. But just swapping over that Ignite and heal between the AD carry and support here. So a bit more kill pressure for the Lucian even when he's by himself, but a little bit more vulnerable.
See trades coming out.
Yeah,
Fake
massive
takes a lot of damage.
Yeah, Cascada and Orca really finding a nice advantage here in the bot lane so far.
It can be very difficult, I think, if you do fall behind in a bot matchup like this, because all your threat comes from that all-in, right, with Nautilus and Xayah. And if you lose so much health that you can't threaten any all-in, then you just don't have any pressure over the lane at all. Nesty is starting to get bullied out here. Is a difficult matchup for him.
Hana coming in though. Cage will be used, so 1116 has to be careful. Flash used by Orianna, so overall a nice trade there for DCG, and Orianna has to be a lot more safe now against this Lee Sin.
Flash used, I think, is a pretty big deal. Could definitely just be flash caged at pretty much any point, and there won't be any escape for him unless Kongyue is nearby. As we saw though, Kongyue, he has a lot of proximity around mid, so you have to expect he is going to be here if he's needed. Nesty, it looks like he will be going towards the Rod of Ages, picks up that Ruby Crystal, and will eventually be turned into a Catalyst. Another kind of necessary thing that sort of has to be picked up in a difficult lane like this, just to ensure that's kind of lane safety for yourself. Should be able to get a little bit more priority now though with the flash down. Obviously we'll have to have respect on the side of the Orianna here. And bot CS lead continues to build. Feng's half HP, as well as very low on mana. Kongyue's in the area though, and Sums is still available, is spotted out on a ward. Looks like Cascada will back off.
I want to say it's quite nice to see Cascada and Orca performing well on this sort of lane matchup here, because I think traditionally we've seen Cascada go for these sort of later scaling, sort of losing lane champions, and so seeing that he can pick up the likes of the Lucian and play it so well, and as well, I think since sort of Char got subbed in for those 2 games and Orca came back, he's really performed so well on the Nautilus. So, and Leona, sorry, both of them. And so it's nice to see he can still play those enchanters as well as Cascada coming over to this more aggressive Lucian pick.
And I think it kind of makes sense for them, right? They did like stuff like the Caitlyn Lux that is, it's different and similar at the same time. They're both kind of that pushing lane, trying to accelerate yourself. The difference with Lucian Nami being that you're looking more for all ends as opposed to Caitlyn Lux looks for the plates. But I think it still shares some similarities, and Cascada, like you said, was probably one of the best, if not the best Caitlyn that we've seen so far. So it makes sense that he should be able to perform here on the Lucian Nami. Has to be careful on this window though, as Orca shows mid, clears out some of that vision. Kino as well, gonna get aggressive, and the sweeper comes out. There's no vision around this dragon currently. Will teams want to pick it up? Maybe looking mid onto Nesty's Veigar. Hana checks the dragon thinking it would perhaps be started up. It's just gonna go back to his Krugs now, and there are pings on the drag currently. With that bot priority as well, and mid priority, I would be very surprised if Kongwei didn't start this up. Maybe he wants to play for a gank instead though. Yeah, he's kind of waiting in the wings. It feels kind of hard to force something. I think maybe they could have started that dragon with that priority, but instead kind of spent it not too convincingly on anything. Just kind of wander around. They will grab the scuttle, which is nice. But there was a window there, I think, where something could have been picked up. And now Hana showing in bot is going to give DCG the chance to get Prio back and kind of dispel any chance of this dragon being picked up. Perhaps it's their turn. I don't think they'll start it, but they are going to take at least some of the vision back here. On the side of DCG, right, with your scaling, I think both sides scale pretty well, but especially with a Veigar, if you can make sure that the first dragon goes down as late as possible, that is quite good for you. Buys time to reach that one item, as well as get some of those stacks.
Waiting. Orca does have to be careful. I don't think he'll die just because of the summoners, but will get taken extremely low if he does get hooked. As yeah, not a lot happening here in the early game. Gold is completely even.
I'm a little surprised the mid lead isn't a bit bigger, but I guess after losing the flash, had to play a little more respectfully. Hongyue hasn't been spotted out here, and he has ults. Looks like the reset's going to come in time for this Herald, which is spawning in just 15 seconds from now.
Yeah, and you feel like Orca should recall here. Does, so will be a little bit later than Kino, but shouldn't be too late to decide much, as nice use of the cage forces out the ward from Jax. Won't have that trinket available now. Hana does start up this Rift Herald as we see Kino and Kongyue head there, so maybe headed for a bit of a skirmish. I don't even know who it favors right now. I mean, I think Sion. I think Sion will have more impact at this stage of the game than the Jax, but maybe.
I'm not sure. I mean, the damage items I feel like are all here for Beyond. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess they have better control, so it looks like it will go their way. I'm very surprised that a tier Catalyst Veigar managed to get this though. Instead, we'll be at least pushing in the mid wave, and I think maybe some bot plates going down as well. Kino, there's an ignite here for Nesty. Doesn't look like they want to commit onto it though. And things, I guess, will just go back to normal for the meantime. We'd probably like to see this Herald use bot. I think snowballing this Lucian Nami further ahead is extremely important.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Cascada left bot there. It didn't seem like there was much point, and lost a plate for it, just sort of walking up through his jungle. But it did happen, and I mean, the plate could possibly be regathered, as you said, if this Rift Herald does go bottom towards him.
Drag is still up, so there wasn't any sort of trade other than that bot plate there, which was nice.
Pings by the side of Beyond going down towards Dragon.
Yeah, it looks like they know Nesty's recalling. Perhaps they want to start it up now. Nesty has the Ignite as well, so can't actually use it and swap to TP. Is just going to have to walk to lane instead. And a lot of priority and bot side vision will be lost here. I don't think 116 wants to go for this though. He might want to reset instead. It's kind of hard to tell. Actually, looks like he is entering the river. The tempo here is not the best for the side of BYG. Can maybe force something on Cascada though.
Kino is looking, but
must be close to 6.
You'd have to think so. Level 7 hit on these 80 carries, but as he supports roaming up to Rift Herald means they're a little bit behind.
Orca on midwave secures the priority here for Nesty, which means DCG should have the easier time retaking this vision back. I'm not sure why BYG continue to give up their control, because I think they're actually stronger, at least in some of these fights, just given the mid-item difference. Lost Chapter versus what was a Catalyst, especially before. But now it feels like it's not really an option. I think, honestly, really good start here for DCG. Just the fact that none of those dragons have gone the way of Beyond, and also Lucian Army has found itself, I want to say, slightly ahead. It's very close, though.
Dragon started from Beyond, and it doesn't look like DCG will answer. I think he was looking to put down that Herald, but the damage from Orianna means the delay, and he won't put it down now. So, first Dragon is a Cloud Dragon, goes over to the side of Beyond Gaming. Same gold lead still, though, but with Rift Herald soon, you imagine just a little bit will go towards Criscata, as he does do a nice culling to get half health off of Fing.
Fair amount of damage there, and Hana looks like he will drop the Herald. I think great usage there. It sucks that you can't bring down your mid, but Nesty just does not get enough prior for that. Kongwei is behind here, so if DCG try and push this too hard, they could be engaged on. As Flash
Nautilus ult onto Criscata, but good Flash just dashed to get away. So Flash and ult used from Kino to gain really nothing.
Yeah, I think the health bars were just a bit too low to really follow up on it. And that's a big cooldown used. Both the Flash and the ult means that there's very little threat onto Criscata, who can continue to push this lane, continue to build up a lead for himself. 1116, interestingly, is going for the going for the Ludens rather than the Leandries, which is pretty surprising, given that there's the Scion.
Yeah, even Lee Sin and Vega pretty much just get health within their build, so yeah, definitely a little surprising.
Maybe just seeing himself as the solo AP here can look to chunk the squishies out. It is Rod of Ages now completed for Nesty, so kind of hit that point where he's going to go for a lot of scaling. It'll be interesting to see what item he goes for second. We've seen a variety of Veigar builds. I feel like the best one is when you just go the straight rabbit on second. But we've seen a lot of different stuff, and certainly a champ where, you know, there is a variety of viable itemization. Enemy is getting pretty low in this top side, but it's obviously very hard to dive, and it's still tanky enough that the guy can't really take him out, who now has that Divine Sunderer and probably can start getting a bit more done. Mid CS lead as well. It's nice, but certainly not game winning on its own. Has the first strike as well, though, so it is quite a lot of gold just there. Despite that, I think because of the plates that have gone down, the gold does favor DCG ever so slightly. And can this tower be broken before the next drag? It feels like probably, yeah. If you can get your mid to come down, maybe. But there's always the fact that Kongwei can be in the wings, so it's very difficult unless you kind of have that 4v2, maybe even 4v3.
Well, this Hex Flash will be used. Can he get in range of Criscata? Doesn't look like it, but Kongwei now coming over. And with that, DCG will give away product. No, they won't. Hana's looking, actually, and they're able to get away all of this vision. So well played by DCG to sort of read what Kongwei may be looking for, and also Criscata from avoiding any initiation from that Nautilus.
It was nice spacing there. Looks like Nesty actually can get mid priority now, which does mean a lot for this bot side. Culling comes out, but it looks like it's just traded for the Hex Flash. Definitely not the best usage, but will be up in time for the next drag. Herald as well is in 45 seconds. Probably could be used bottle, mid, just try and break one of these. Mid, I think, would be better if it does break it. At the same time, freeing up your Lucian and getting him so snowballed would be really nice. And a bit of a farm fest for the early game. Kind of to be expected because there is just a lot of scaling from both sides. I think, though, that the Xayah definitely outperforms Lucian in some of these later team fights. Although you kind of have to consider it as Lucian and Nami versus Xayah and Nautilus, which I think is definitely a bit closer. A minute 30 now on Dragon. Could be the second one for BYG, and the Herald is spawning now too.
Yeah, Frozen Heart for Hanabi.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
I mean, probably a nice item against Lethal Tempo in particular, but kind of interesting. You usually do see that Sunfire Cape just get completed, but Hanabi with his own take and can't knock it till we see exactly how it sort of interacts.
I can kind of see just having all the extra armor, because you have so much health already that just having those extra resistances synergizes very well. Looks like the Herald is going to be picked up here by Hana, and no trade as of yet out of Kongwei, but most likely will instead kind of play towards this bot side river, as this is taken on vision. So BYG, they have to know that Hana has invested all this tempo topside, and with two pinks in the bot side river, I think if BYG can just defend the vision, should be able to look to pick up a second drag here. Have to see. I think it is going to be tough for them to kind of keep this mid priority though. Lucian Nami, very scary on mid waves, can engage so easily. Frescata has that ignite as well, so even more damage that can come through. Looks like mid wave will die. Even Leclerc's down here, ignoring top tower. I mean, he doesn't have TP, but Hanami is just... Looks like they're giving up drag and trading for gold. Kind of like it out of DCG. Second dragon isn't the most impactful. I wonder if Hanami... It looks like he'll be able to get this top tower, right? I think Lakai perhaps overcommitted to this. Obviously, having second drag is nice, but how much do you lose in the other lanes?
You might lose a second tower here even. Lakai is here to defend, as is 1116, but... Nice chunk anyway. Won't get the tower, but... I mean, I like that trade for DCG, honestly. As you said, it's going to give Hanabi so much tankiness, and with that Luden's Orianna being your only AP threat, you have to feel like Hanabi will be such a massive wall in these team fights.
He is going to be really hard to kill, and I think I do like the trade there from DCG. Despite the fact that like your Lucian kind of wants to fight early, I think buying more time for your Veigar to kind of reach 2 items is pretty nice. We'll still be interested to see what item he ends up actually picking up, because I think it does change quite a bit. If you can get that second item Rabadons, it accelerates your AP so fast. Importantly, does have 2 points in W and now going for the Emax, which makes it a lot easier to clear out some of these waves, set them up for your Q. Nesty,
just be careful.
Is he going to face check? He could be in trouble here.
142 stacks currently on his Q, so getting quite a bit of extra ability power, and with that, you'd kind of like to see the death cap, right? There's no MR coming through yet, so we'll be doing near true damage with a lot of AP, so...
There are lots of members from BYG looking around mid. The ball's on Kongyue as well. We've seen what he can do with these Wukong ults before. If they can engage on Cruscata or Orca somehow, they could perhaps get something off it, but here we are, 17 minutes 30 in, and so far has not been a kill. Not what I would have expected out of these two teams, to be honest, because I think both of them, a lot of the time, do have pretty active early games. I'm not sure if aggressive is the right word, but a lot of moving around, kind of setting up dives and, you know, stuff like that. Not a lot of 1v1 aggression. Yeah, we saw DCG against PSG was a really late first blood as well, but I think that's more because of PSG's playstyle and how they sort of perceive the game. But yeah, as we see Hana and Kongyue sort of looking for trades with each other now, but back to what I was saying, yeah, BYG tend to get a lot of kills sort of early on in the game through Kongyue, and especially when he's on Wukong, but this game, nothing happened yet, possibly realizing what's at stake and not wanting to lose the game off of a botched engage or anything like that. First blood still up for grabs. This tower, there's a lot of members around. The Veigar cage is good. Yeah, nice Veigar cage, but Kino will be okay. Definitely able to tank up that. He needs to be careful how far he walks up. There is a lot of engage from the likes of Wukong Orianna. That mid tower is picked up though, and that opens up the map a lot. Gives DCG plenty more options. Stuff to do with their time. Lakai is starting to make headway in this side lane, is currently hitting that top tower, but has been set a little far behind in the 1v1, especially when they traded that initial top tower over, which did accelerate Hanabi pretty far ahead. Looks like Hanabi might be going for Jaksho before completing Sunfire Cape this game, so we'll be a little bit tankier, but won't be as capable of clearing waves and the likes. But we're looking here top. Ghost is used by Nesty, of course that is Summoner Spellbook. Lakai getting really low here. Will jump onto Hanabi. He does at least trade one. Will he win the 2v1? He does. And I think we saw a lot of power coming out of that Divine Sunderer there, and misread on what DCG could really do. It really just not enough damage yet from the Veigar, right? Really needs that 2 items, and that's when you come online. I think, yeah, just a little poorly played. I think Nessie even had the Ignite, but just wasn't really enough. Let's see how this went down. So I think initially, cage placement is okay. If you can place it directly on him, it's better, obviously. But the thing is, both League Q and Veigar are executes, right? So you kind of want him to wait, or to try and get him a bit lower. They just couldn't get him low enough to actually deal the damage. And I think Lakai probably could have gone for more there, but was a little scared of who wasn't showing on the map. Is going to be the Seraph second for Nesty. So something we've seen before. It's an okay second item, obviously, but it does delay Rabadons pretty significantly. Now, I don't think you really need the extra tankiness here. It's an interesting choice, as always.
Yeah, we see sort of mid lane. And honestly, this is sort of how we've seen a lot of the games recently. It's just each side pushes one wave and then the other side pushes it. But whoever does push the wave first, it does always favor them because they're able to get more priority around the map, vision and the likes of that. As we see 3 members of BYG headed down here, just hiding in the bush for now. And top tower's about to start crashing, so you would think you'd want to send someone there. But Kongyue perhaps looking for an engagement.
Yeah, it looks like they're just going to give up this mid-wave completely and go towards Dragon.
Teleport from Hanabi was a bit interesting, but he will be able to join this fight already on the bottom side. Lakai trying to zone him out, and honestly, you can't walk through the Jax as Sion right now. Anyway, giving him a little bit of a bonk. Last cone available.
The gold is still close here. DCG slightly ahead, but they need to get this Dragon. Otherwise, very realistic soul win condition for the side of BYG. Kongyue, he's trying to find a flank, but Hana's marking him on the side. 116 without that Leander, he can't quite deal with Hanabi. Maybe can look for an ult though.
Yeah, flash engage, will not find anyone off yet, but nice hook by Kino, will drag Lucian in, and Lakai finishes him off. Hanabi though, tanking up a lot. Dragon's Rage is used, Feng gets really low, and actually Hana is able to pick that up off the side. Cage now used for a disengage, and honestly, I don't know how Hana found that kill, but really well done to take out Feng.
Does the fight here does go the way of DCG. I think they can pick up the Dragon as well. There might be TPs coming back in from the BYG solo laners, so perhaps just want to wait for Hana to respawn. Would kind of like to see what happened to the Orianna ult, because I don't even think I saw it in their fight. Just really doesn't have the damage necessary. Unfortunately, that blue does reset for Nesty, happens to the best. I think the initial engage from Kongyue didn't feel... He doesn't have a flank. Obviously, it is difficult, but didn't quite find what he needed to. I think, yeah, goes in, doesn't quite get Cruscata, and Orianna also, I don't think, hit anyone. Maybe it hit the Sion. Flank from Lakai was really, really good, though. But then off the back of this, I don't think Feng has a Navori at this point. Feels like he doesn't do, like, a ton of damage. Yeah, just managed to get sniped down by Hana, so... Ultimately, fight was executed a little bit better by the side of DCG. Without 2 items on that Xayah yet, makes it difficult. Looks like Dragon now, started up by DCG. This is still fine though, as BYG, right? You're not expecting, I guess, to get all 4 Dragons straight away. And the soul win condition still remains alive for a bit later in the game. It does perhaps give Nesty time to scale into that Rabadons, which looks like is what he's going to be itemizing towards third. Another engage.
Kongyue looking, flash available for Cruscata. He does get away for now, but will go down to that Orianna. So 1 free kill over to the side of BYG, and do they look towards this Baron? Nami's really low, does have a little bit of sustain, but for now just content with this middle tower.
Doesn't look like they're going to go for Baron, but they get a couple towers, which is a lot of gold taken back for them. I think we're at around a 3k gold deficit before this. Now we're down just 200 gold. Importantly there as well, Cruscata died and flashed, right? I think if he doesn't have flash and dies here, that's kind of understandable based off the previous fight, but the fact that flash was actually available here and he just gets one-shot by the Wukong Orianna, it's not enough respect on that mid-wave, and it's going to make playing that next team fight out extremely difficult. So really big pickup there by BYG to close up that gold gap. As you can see, the gold difference almost completely nullified after that play.
Yeah, and that's not good signs for DCG, although aren't completely out. Sion scales fine, maybe loses the side lane, but will still be a monster in team fights. And of course, Veigar kind of infinitely scales, so...
For sure, yeah. I honestly think it could still be anyone's game at this point. I don't think it's really favored towards one side. Remains pretty much just as competitive as it was at level 1, now 25 minutes into the game. Have to see, I think Feng now probably has the Navori in base.
Baron started here. Nesty is level 16, both through getting a bit more XP than 1116 and that Rod of Ages, but Hanabi at least will be seen on this vision, so they do know something's up. Kongyue coming over.
Yeah, it is only
Baron
half
at
HP.
half.
Lakai has the TP, but he's pushing deep in the side lane. I think they might just be playing for steal. Okay, TP comes in.
TP comes in, so what do they finish it? It will be a 50-50. It goes to the side of Kongyue. So
Can he get
really
out?
nice smite. He is stuck for now, but Dragon's Rage used actually hits him in range here of Nesty, who does stop watch to survive for now. But what can they find? One goes down. Nesty manages to trade it back, and another trade as well. So jungler support down for BYG, mid jungle down for DCG, and good steal by Kongyue. You kind of have to feel like you should have disengaged.
Yeah, the 2 for 2 is good. I wonder why DCG couldn't keep Kongyue out, because I think there is a possibility of you just send Sign over the wall, you kind of league. Oh, Cascada, he's caught out. It's just sniped by Lakai, but I think you have a lot of tools, right? You can Q the Baron and then go over the wall as Lee and kick Kongyue away. You have the Vega cage, but somehow still manages to get in. I think shouldn't really be allowed. But now, Cascada going down as well is really good for them. I think the TP flank from Lakai was really nice as well here. Went definitely to the right ward. Keep your eyes on Kongyue though. Yeah, nothing really used, I guess, to keep him out. The cage was actually used to try zone Lakai, but that does mean that Hana's kind of left alone to deal with the Baron, and Kongyue picks it up. Off the back of that, I think Nesty somehow ends up in the middle of the enemy team and can't get off what is so much DPS at this point, right? Nesty extremely fed, and it's really just up to Cascada to carry the fight, and does what he can. But as the Lucian versus the Jax at the very end, I mean, we saw what happened. Is Void stuff now completed by 1116, so has some kind of way to take him out. Look at the damage, as you can see, Cascada really did his best, but just so much damage coming through from all the members of BYG. Nesty should be pretty close to the Rabadons. There's another huge spike, especially for Vega, but honestly for all mages. And what can DCG, or sorry, what can BYG get done with this Baron? Probably not more than tier 2s. It's very difficult, I think, to siege into the Vega. If they can find some sort of engage, perhaps could take more.
Vega actually looking for something here.
Yeah, he's in the wings. But yeah, he's trying to get something. He has the flash, but it's pretty difficult. Lakai's pressuring bot. Lakai even has himself a Zhonya's, so going to be extremely hard to be taken out.
Yeah, and honestly, the only person who really will be susceptible to this cage is 1116. Everyone else does have summoners up, and without flashing as Vega, you're unlikely to get them in the cage, and at that stage you're just trading flash for flash, so...
Looks like at least for now these towers will actually stay up, so Dragon did get a lot of kill gold, but I don't even think they took any towers off it. Dragon's up in 20 more seconds though, will be the 3rd Dragon for BYG. I think DCG honestly could just give this up and buy time to get that Rabadons on Nesty. Still strong if they want to fight though.
It does feel dangerous though, because as this game gets later, Jax is going to have a better and better time in the side lane, and it makes Dragons that much harder.
BYG, they have the position. DCG, they are going to try contest. So all coming from top side. Really good flank here though by Kongyue and Lakai. They've got the Ori ball as well. It's very difficult, I think. Hana wisely spots them out. Dragon's starting to get low though.
Cascada will not
not the
find
best.
pretty much anything onto Kongyue. We'll just get out of there with the clone. But nice decimating smash here from Hanabi. As the fight erupts, Hana is going to be stunned up by the Jax. Nice Dragon's Rage, but right now Hanabi will be going down. Cascada flashed on and Counter-Strike will land. Nice bubble by Orca. Zhonya's, though, really getting good use, and it is currently a 3 for 0. Looks like it might end up at a 5 for 0. Kino and Kongyue will catch up to Cascada as Lakai takes down Orca on the bottom side, and they are looking to push to end here.
They are going to try. I think they do have long enough. It's Nesty really who you have to be thinking about with the wave clear, and he's dead for a long time. Just look how much damage difference from the mid lane here. I mean, really showing why Nesty perhaps not as comfortable on these control mages. A couple fights in a row, despite being so scaled, just mispositions and isn't able to deal the damage that he needs. And it looks like after 29 minutes here, the BYG will manage to pick up the win over DCG, and that secures them in that 5th seed, with DCG falling down to 6th.
Yeah, so congratulations to BYG. Will, as you said, pick up that 5th seed, and not the greatest showing out of DCG, I must say. As you said, the Vega not having as much impact as you'd perhaps like, and obviously did get that Rabadons as the Nexus kind of explodes, so pretty useless. Like, I'll pick up having it that late, and maybe it would have been better to have got it as that second item, as you said, but too little too late now. They will be 6th, so still in the playoffs, and honestly, a team like this, they've performed so well recently, I don't think it should be that worrying for them. I think they really, on any given day, could beat any team that comes out of that sort of 3rd, 4th matchup that we will see. So I mean, things are looking bright for both teams, but on this occasion, BYG certainly had the best.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think with all that you said, I want to say that I feel like BYG had the much better read on DCG. I think they really took away a lot of the win conditions.